Hi, my name is Carla, and today I'll be presenting the final project for reading movies. To begin with, acting is the art or occupation of performing in plays, movies, or television productions. So, moving on from that, in the film Catch Me If You Can, we see Frank trying to find his way through his new school. Since he was used to going to more privileged schools, he didn't want to leave his jacket and old uniform behind at home. Because of this, some guys thought it was funny to push him around. However, when Frank walked into the classroom, he saw the opportunity to become someone else. So because of this, he continued moving to the chalkboard to write his name on the board and present himself as the substitute teacher. When the real sub walked in, he kept his cool and didn't crack under pressure. I really liked how Leonardo DiCaprio portrayed his character because any other teenager would have just cracked under pressure, but he didn't. Not only in this scene, but for the entire movie. He acted as many different people, which is not easy to do since each of them had their own personalities. I thought overall that Leonardo DiCaprio managed to make the scenes very realistic when it came to showing emotions as well, because he knew as an actor that there was a certain way that this character should be portrayed. In this next slide that we're going to see, where it's an example of the film itself, and in this clip we're going to see how well Leonardo DiCaprio's acting actually played a part in the making of the film.
Excuse me.
Oh, yeah?
Do you know where room 17 French is?
Yeah.
You freaking killed him, dude. You selling encyclopedias?
Yeah, he looks like a substitute teacher.
No, find out. Take it. I don't want you to just go ahead.
Here you go.
You're too slow.
Quiet down, people. My name is Mr. Abagnale. That's Abagnale, not Abagnale, not Abagnale, but Abagnale. Now, somebody please tell me where you left off in your textbooks? Excuse me, people, if I need to ask again, I'm going to write up the entire class. Take your seats!
Chapter 7.
Will you please open your textbooks to Chapter 8, and we'll get started? Excuse me, what's your name?
Brad?
Brad, why don't you get up here in front of the class here and read conversation number 5.
Les Français sont généralement Donsler pays Q, press Q, tout le monde set impression.
They sent for me. They said they needed a sub for Roberta. I came all the way from Dixon.
Well, I always sub for Roberta. Excuse me, why aren't you reading?
Quills on.
I'll never come back to Bellarmine Jefferson again. You tell them not to call me. What do they think? It's easy for a woman my age and all the money that it costs to travel? I tell you, they don't give it.
So now that we finished the scene, we can see how well Leonardo DiCaprio's acting really portrayed in this scene. He never cracked under pressure when the other students were telling him something, and he really portrayed the act of being a substitute teacher, especially when the guy who bullied him in the hallway was like, oh, he looks like a substitute teacher. So continuing with editing, we see that editing combines and coordinates individual shots into a cinematic whole. Editing includes different types of transitions, techniques, and special effects. In the next example, you will see how editing takes place in the movie Psycho. In this scene, we've seen Marianne taking a shower, not thinking anything of it really, but then suddenly the music starts to change and the suspense rises. As the audience, we know that something's about to happen, but obviously she doesn't. But then we see a shadowy figure come up from behind Marianne and attack her. This scene specifically has many different types of editing, including point of view editing, jump cut, and dissolve. As you'll see, the camera will change point of view between Marianne and her killer very often, and then it will also jump between the point of view and other parts of the scene as well. And of course, lastly, we will see the water draining it's going to quickly, well, actually slowly dissolve into Marion's eyeball as she just lays there dead on the floor. But it's really important to capture that moment because you don't think anything of it until you actually see the water like going down the drain and then dissolving into her eyeball. And then later on, the camera zooming out from her close up into the overall image of the scene. So let's watch the example. Okay, so now that we saw the type of editing that was used in that scene, we will be moving on to the mise en scène. So mise en scène is the total arrangement of settings, costumes, lighting, sound, and acting. When pieced together, they all create the film. So the example that I'll be talking about for mise en scène is Gone with the Wind. So in the movie Gone with the Wind, we examine the scene where Scarlett and everyone else flees Atlanta. The scene already starts in a dark mood and it has fire in the background because obviously, the war's getting closer and like everyone in Atlanta needs to flee. So it's really more of a leaving scene, like their escape. So the scene's supposed to already be like in a dark mood because it's just like this is something that they don't want to do. But anyways, missing scenes already focuses a lot of the environment of the scene and the placement of the props within it. So throughout the scene, you'll see chaos running through the streets of Atlanta and not leaving anything behind. After seeing the danger that they were about to face, Rhett sacrifices himself to try and get Scarlett and the others across the fire safely. The filmmakers do a really good job capturing the surroundings during the scene because we can see boxes of dynamite all around, as well as many burning buildings in the distance. This is done on purpose to show the audience a point of view from afar. We cannot forget that the lighting helped make the scene better because I believe there was more of it than the emotion on the faces would have not been realistic enough. So let's watch the example.
What's that?
Gallant lads must have set fire to the warehouses near the depot. Enough ammunition to boxcars down there to blow us to terror. We'll have to hurry if we're going to get across the tracks.
They're not going that way.
We have to. John Road's the only one the Yankees haven't cut yet.
Oh, wait, I forgot to lock the front door. What are you laughing at?
At you, locking the Yankees out.
Dear, I wish they'd hurry.
Be in such a hurry to see them go if I were you, my dear. With them goes the last semblance of law and order. The scavengers aren't wasting any time. Better get out of here fast.
There's a horse! Get it! Get us that horse! Down the alley! Get them off! Pull that horse! Get it! Come on! Get out! I'll get him! Get him down out of there! Give me that horse! Drag him off!
Haven't left much for the Yankees to take, have we? We'll have to make a dash for it before the fire reaches that ammunition. Come on. Throw me your shawl. Sorry. You'll like it better if you don't see anything.
So now that we finished watching the example from Gone in the Wind, you can kind of see how the Missing Sense worked very well with the scene just because there was smoke everywhere, there was chaos and everything. So it was really portrayed nicely by the filmmakers just because with so much chaos and stuff happening in the scene, they were still able to focus on what was important. So let's continue with the next scene. Directing is next. So directing is everything that goes into place when making a film. The example that I'll be using is The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. Okay, so in Sergio Leone's film The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, he uses a variety of different elements to bring his scene to life. In the next slide, we'll see an example of his most famous scene, which is the final duel of the movie. In this scene, we can see the variety of different camera angles and how they are pieced together in a certain way to create the element of surprise. On top of his directing skills, Leone also played a part in the music that was chosen for this particular scene, as well as the placement of where the actors were. Some of the important things that I have noticed during the scene was that Sergio Leone wanted to create a distance between the three characters in order to form a triangle. As he captured an extreme close-up of their eyes, the tempo started to go by faster and then ended in an unexpected way. Needless to say, Leone demonstrated how actors have many different roles within the film and not just behind the camera. So as we see this next scene, you're going to see how Sergio Leone actually managed to create a lot of content in a short amount of time and how he was able to piece together so many different camera movements just to make this scene the way that it is. So let's watch. Okay, so after seeing that short clip, we can actually see how well Sergio Leone actually did his directing, because as you could tell in those final seconds of the scene, he really switched between each character and their extreme close up of their eyes, and seeing like how they would keep moving from side to side, looking at each other from one another. And on top of that, he was also really focused on the guns that they had on their side, just because you didn't know who was going to be the one to shoot first or shoot last. Like, we didn't know. So moving on from directing is sound. Okay, so with sound does play a big part in creating movies because it engages two of our senses. It engages our vision and hearing. For example, in the movie Psycho, music did play a big role in creating suspense throughout the entire film. There were many scenes in particular that demonstrated this aspect. The example that will be shown demonstrates the suspense the audience felt once Marion took the money and decided to leave town. We see her driving nervously and even encountering her boss, who trusted that she had already taken the money to the bank. The sound was really quiet and slow paced, but right after we see her making eye contact with her boss, it quickly changes to a fast paced and louder sound. The music does play a big role because it leaves the audience waiting for more. We are typically wondering if she's going to get caught, if she's going to take the guilty path and do the right thing. We as the audience don't know, but just because of that sound and that music, we are wanting to know, hey, like, what's gonna happen next? Like, I'm on the edge of my seat, like, please let me know. And on top of that, we can also hear voices of her boss and others telling her things from that day as she's driving away and regretting her decision.
Marion, what in the world? What are you doing up here? Of course, I'm glad to see you. I always am. What is it, Marion?
Okay, so now that we finished watching the scene, as you could tell, there was a lot of different um sound that played a part of the scene. The music, how quickly escalated it went, and the different that it made, just because, you know, when the scene first started, it was kind of silent, you know, and then the music quickly like came in, like, oh, like suspense, like what's gonna happen, what is she gonna do? And on top of that, you know, the voices like that she kept overhearing also played an important part, just because, you know, she feels guilty, she knows this isn't the right thing to do, yet she's still doing it anyways. So moving on to cinematography. Cinematography means writing with movement and is made up of different elements that make up a film. In the film Double Indemnity, there is a lot of aspects of cinematography that play a big part. In the next scene, we will see the scene where Walter and Phyllis are going through their diabolical plan at the train station. At the beginning of the scene, the lighting was very dark, but the filmmakers still managed to keep some light on the actors' faces to make them stand out from the others. Additionally, there were many different camera movements that made the scene look very mysterious and well directed. For example, when we first see Phyllis getting out of the car, we can tell it's a high angle shot just because we're able to see her getting out of the car, Walter facing away from the camera, lots of cars in the parking lot. We also see people in the back because you can just see the whole thing. So that high angle shot does do a lot for a specific scene like this. Specifically, just because high angle shots do a good job of showing us the entire view where the characters are and what could possibly happen. On top of that, when the two start walking, we consider this a tracking shot just because the camera is moving smoothly alongside them. It's not bumpy. It's not anything that makes it look obvious that, hey, like the cameraman's right here standing next to me. It's very discreet because, as you'll see in the show, in the next scene, it starts off with the camera looking at their backs, and then it will slowly move towards the front of the face, almost like if it's like just moving alongside them and trying not to be obvious. And just because, you know, the tracking shot is used frequently to capture these kind of actors in action instead of just capturing some part of it and missing out the most important parts. So let's take a look.
You take care of the red cap and the conductor.
Don't worry.
Keep away from me as much as you can. Tell them I don't want to be helped.
I said don't worry, Walter.
You start as soon as the train leaves. When you get to the refinery, turn off the highway onto the dirt road. From there, it's exactly 8/10 of a mile to the dump beside the tracks. Remember.
I remember everything.
No speeding. You don't want any cops stopping in with him in the back.
Walter, we've been through all that so many times.
When you leave the highway, turn off all your lights. I'll be back on the observation platform. I'll drop off as close to the spot as I can. Let the train pass. Then dim your lights twice.
San Francisco train, lady?
Car 9, section 11. Just my husband.
Car 9, section 11. This way, please.
Thank you. My husband doesn't like to be held.
Car number 8, up here. Car 9, section 11. Thank you.
Here's the tickets. Take good care of yourself with that leg.
Yeah, you take it easy driving home.
I'll miss you, honey.
Section 11, sir. Thank you.
Goodbye, honey. Good luck, honey.
So as you could tell from the scene, the camera actually did move really smoothly with them, and then on top of that, you know, they were just trying to make it very discreet in the scene itself. So cinematography did play a big part because the lighting and everything just made the scene actually connect really well with the noir aspect of it. So continuing on to our last aspect of this project, screenplay. Screenplay is also known as a script, and it is written by screenwriters for film that includes the actors' lines and so much more. These screenplays can also be original works or adaptations from existing pieces of writing. For example, in the movie Some Like It Hot, the screenplay was very descriptive in order to see In order to make the correct adjustments in the scenes, in the next slide you'll see the original screenplay in the movie and then see it come to life. Screenwriters will often play the backstories very detailed and specific so that actors feel more connected to their roles. Adding on the screenplay also includes the emotions that the characters should be portraying on top of other things like dialogue, locations, and parentheticals. So here is the examples from the screenplay that will be in the next scene that we will be showing. As you can tell, it's very specific the way that screenplays work. So whenever an actor or a character is supposed to speak, their name should always be capitalized just because it gives them the signal that okay, like this person's gonna start. So as you can see, like Jerry starts off on the closest to the left, it says Jerry, and then whatever comes after the name is the dialogue. This is used because screenwriters don't really necessarily need to put parentheses or quotes around it like we would normally do whenever someone's speaking. And as you can see, like those little 4 paragraphs, that's what's actually happening, the action in the scene. So the screenwriters do that on purpose just because they can't be telling them on the spot as they're directing and the cameras are rolling like, hey, like you need to do this, you need to do that. So on top of that, it does those certain things as a backstory for them, so they know like, hey, this is gonna happen, this is what it needs to do, like find the way to make this happen. And on top of that, the parentheticals are the things that are under the character's name, and that's the way that it's either an action that they are doing or like a feeling that they are doing or something that they're or someone that they're talking to, like just to give them direction. So like if you see in the first couple ones, you see this says sugar and it says like she's some type of whisper, so that means that she's saying it very quietly. And then we move on to Jerry, like like without putting the parentheticals that says he's getting up, he'd be normally just sitting down. So that's what he needs to do before he says his next line. So let's take a look at the scene actually and see how well the screenplay works with the scene itself. You can see like that much of a screenplay just for this little short clip. Like you'll be like, wow, this is such a big difference. So let's take a look.
You better put on the lights. I can't see what I'm doing.
No lights. We don't want them to know we're having a party.
But I might spill some.
So spill it. Spills, thrills, laughs, and games. This may even turn out to be a surprise party.
What's a surprise?
Uh-oh. Not yet.
When?
Better have a drink first.
That'll put hair on your chest.
No fair guessing.
Is this a private clam bake, or can anybody
Yes,
join?
it's private. Please, go away.
Dolores, do you still have that bottle of vermouth?
Sure.
Who needs vermouth?
We've got bourbon. We can make Manhattans.
Okay, Manhattans at this time of night?
Bring the cocktail shaker.
Oh, sugar. You're going to spoil my surprise.
Hey, honey, what's that?
Party in number 7.
A party. I'll get some cheese and crackers.
I'll get a cocktail shaker. You get a corkscrew.
Okay. Hey, Rosella, there's a party in upper 7.
Yeah?
You got a corkscrew?
No, but Stella has.
We'll go get some paper cups.
Okay.
Hey, there's a party in upper 7. Party in upper 7. Oh, yeah. Party in upper 7.
Here's the vermouth. This is a private party. Will you please go away?
I put some cheese and crackers in case anybody gets hungry.
What is
10
this?
cups will be enough.
Party for 2. 10 cups. What is... Please, girls, will you please stop this?
Could you use some salad?
7 cups. Shh. Girls, you're going to wake up the neighbors downstairs. Now, Josephine, what's that corkscrew?
Here's the cracker.
No crackers in bed. Will you girls go away and form your own party?
Here's the cocktail shaker. I wish we had some ice. Hey, easy on the vermouth.
13 girls in the birds is bad luck. 12 of you have to get out.
Pass me the peanut butter. Anyone for salami?
No more food. I'll dance in the morning.
Have you got any maraschino cherries on you? Oh, never mind.
Mosquito cherries.
So that final clip does conclude the end of my final project. Thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed.